morning everyone, and welcome to Theraorb. My name still remains Mary Obasi. Today I'll be talking about sensory needs in children living with autism and ADHD. Sensory needs in children living with autism and ADHD. For example, I know you would have heard a lot that autism is characterized by social difficulty in social interaction. Is a developmental disability that is characterized by social difficulties, communication difficulties, repetitive behavior, and sensory sensitivity. But most times we don't talk about the sensory sensitivity, we only talk about the three, because we all look at the possibility for a child to speak. That is what is worrisome to us. But we forget that these four things work hand in hand together. Is a sensory sensitivity characterized by mental processing. So the child is trying to process things. The child is trying to process things. Sometimes your child might be having communication difficulty. It might just be that if his sensory sensitivity is being taken care of, he will be able to calm down to speak. You know, the sensory sensitivity help to bring the... Now, when you see your child constantly touching things, he just wants to touch everything. He's always on the move. He just wants to touch everything. He wants to feel everything. He likes, there are different surfaces he likes. He likes this surface, he likes that surface. He just wants to feel it. You want to have more of the touching. You know that is sensory. He's having a sensory need. When your child is unable to sit still, he's always like this. When your child is unable to sit still, when your child is jumping about, spinning about, going round in circles, when he's rocking, when he's not able to sit still, when he's always on the go. You see your child, all of a sudden he just move and shout, yee! You know that is sensory. So we have, that is, you know that that's a sensory need. So we have different ways to know that your child is just sensory seeking. It might not be behavior. You feel like it's a behavior. It might not just be behavior. It might be that child is sensory seeking, or he has sensory needs to be addressed. Your client, if you're a therapist, you see that your client, or if you're a parent, you see that your client or your child is just smelling things. He just wants to perceive things. He's smelling either food items or non-food items or non-food items. He's just smelling things. Another thing is, it happens, there are some children I work with, like this is a very very popular, I've seen it as a very popular sensory need. You see them picking things, putting in their mouth. They're always mouthing. When the child begins to mouth, he begins to put things in his mouth. Like I said earlier, when you see a child that is seeking sensory needs, you see the child spinning. The child is spinning all around, rolling around, going round in circles. The child is rocking up, rocking down, rocking. The child is moving. The child is just on a run. Sometimes you just hear the child scream and he's on a run. Sometimes the child is covering his ears. That means he's hearing so much. He does so much loud noise that is more than the necessary, because a child with autism, some of them, a child with autism, a child that has an hyperauditory sensory need, you will see the child trying to cover his ears. Then we have the one that the child is frequently picking his fingers. You can see that after picking his fingers, if it's not addressed, the child begins to pick his skin, pinch his skin, pick his skin. All those things are sensory needs. And we as parents and therapists, we actually focus more on the communication differences, the social interaction differences, the language differences, but we forget to focus on the sensory therapy. Now, on the sensory needs. Now, these sensory needs, if they are met, if there is a good sensory therapy that is done for the child, you see that what it does is that the child begins to process things mentally. When the child is sensory seeking, the child doesn't process things. You see that once a child is sensory seeking, The child might not even attend to you anymore. If you're doing therapy, you're talking to the child as a parent, you see that the child might not attend to you anymore because the needs need to be met. The sensory needs need to be met. So once you meet these sensory needs, now the child begins to process it. The child processes information better. You will see that the child is table ready. The child will sit down and is able to sit down and listen to you. Is able to sit down and give you attention. But if those sensory needs are in the high, are very high, the child cannot sit. What you do is you keep shouting and shouting and shouting, and the child keeps moving and moving. So we need to address it. Let us not shut out the sensory needs out of the children living with special needs. I hope this has been able to help you. And like I said, how can you how can you address this sensory need? By seeing a sensory therapist, by seeing an occupational therapist. Occupational therapists can also be sensory therapists, or sensory therapists are occupational therapists, or occupational therapists are sensory therapists, whatever. But the key is sensory needs can be addressed by an occupational therapist. Thank you. So thank you for staying for this session. Nice having you. Have a great day. Bye.